was just built at the base of a valley, and for hydroelectricity, it was the only place they could dam in Jindabyne here and provide electricity for the electricity and water for the state and southeast New South Wales.
It was a typical rural country town. Yeah, had a pub, post office, a couple of churches, a couple of greengrocers, a couple of butcher shops, only very small, quite primitive. I started working in one of the butcher shops down there.
So I lived with my grandparents in the old town. We lived a little way out of town and they had a beautiful veranda, and we were down the Snowy River, so we would sit on the veranda and look up into the town, and I would walk down to the river and have a swim, and the river is very strong in my memories.
Well, it was talked about for many years before it happened, and people used to be sceptical about it and think, oh, it'll never happen. And when it started to happen, they still just didn't take a lot of notice. They just went along with it.
I just remember the water level being very slow to rise. I remember the new town, the rocks, there was lots of rocks and lots of dirt and the new buildings. I remember pine trees floating and old buildings floating, and it just being very slow, because I was only 11 and I was just wanting this big lake. I was wanting the lake to swim in, but the lake didn't happen for a long time.
Every day you'd see the water coming up that little bit more, and we used to put a stick in, you know, to see how much it was coming up. And they had quite a substantial snow melt up there, and when they, in 1967, when they shut the diversion tunnel off, it came up fairly rapidly initially. And then they decided that the Army got the job of blowing the bridge up, and everyone came up here, and we were standing along the ridge. There used to be a bit of a ridge here where I'm standing here, and we were all looking straight down here and watching the goings on with the Army, and everyone was pretty happy. And then all of a sudden, bloody bang, and up she went, and it was a big explosion. And there was just total silence. And as everything settled and the dust and water settled down, we realised then it was all gone. It was over.
Oh, the original inhabitants down there, I think while they were looking forward to the new town up here, it was great sadness when everything, you know, really went. And as people moved up here, the old town slowly, it went out. Every couple of weeks there was, you know, less lights down there over night time, more lights up here as houses were built and people shifted into them. And in the finish down there were one or two lights there, and then eventually the lights went out. And then they blew the bridge up as the water was rising there. That was in the middle of, what, 67. And once the bridge went up, that was it, she was finished.
The older people, some of them never settled again, and some of them sold up and left, and they never were happy. And others moved up here and they loved every minute of it. It was very difficult for them though.
We've got great facilities that we enjoy through the summer, and the fantastic seasonality of winter, summer, with new staff and guests coming through the town, and then going back to what is still quite, you know, a nice quiet town in summer. And it has developed, it's grown, lots and lots of young families enjoying Jindabyne, the outdoors these days. I know when I started kindergarten at Jindabyne Primary, there was, I think, barely one class, and now, you know, my kids who started in the last couple of years are, you know, part of three kindergarten classes. So a fantastic family town it's grown into. So I think, you know, we've got a prosperous economy and lovely outdoor community, and it really is a great place to bring up a family.
I love Jindabyne, and I was lucky enough to travel the world with my sport and represent Australia and be at many different countries around the world and see many amazing places. And I just love Jindabyne, what it has to offer, and what we can do in this town, and I see only potential for us here in Jindabyne and growth and all things great.
In another 50 years' time, many of the people who are alive at the time the town was shifted will no longer be with us. So it's a great time for those that were here when the town was moved to remember and reminisce, and for those who have enjoyed all the great things that Jindabyne brings to people's lives since, to celebrate that movement. So yeah, a big significant event that I'm happy to be part of.
We've got the events kicking off with a long lunch in the town centre. That was just to create a bit of activity. The Governor is arriving by helicopter, Navy helicopter, just near the Strzelecki statue behind me. He's going to make his way down to the bowling club and then up to the town centre. He'll be followed by the parade. The parade will kick off and go up past the town centre.
When I told people that I was coming down to, to sing the national anthem today for the 50th anniversary, and you tell the story of them flooding the old town and the Snowy hydroelectric scheme, it's all quite dramatic and very theatrical in a way. That they flooded a whole town and moved it into the hills, and which is where the village is now. So it's exciting to be a part of it, and certainly it's my hometown. It's where I grew up, and I have a very special connection to this area. I mean, who wouldn't? This place is it's where my dreams were kind of born here. It's a pretty magical place.
So in this small valley, you see the links with our traditional owners of the land, European settlement, and the birth of multicultural Australia. Quite a lot for a small community growing up here in the mountains. But progress brings change, and the scheme meant that the Snowy River needed to be dammed and the old town to be flooded. And as I'm doing my research for this, I'm not a great fan of the settlers, I must admit, but I love the words in their song in 1966, which went along the lines, "The mountains in their winter snow and the Snowy River down below are whispering farewell to Jindabyne." And as we know, the old township was flooded, and many people were dislodged from not only their homes, but their connection with land here in Jindabyne, and had to move up to this new site. So progress is never easy, but we have now this new thriving community and township to demonstrate that change can have benefit.
It's a pleasure to be back here in Jindabyne, not only as the local member, but someone that's started to appreciate the fantastic region we live in. And it was touched on earlier when you look at this region, and that we were blessed by what I would call one of the greatest initiatives and nation-building project being the Snowy Hydro scheme. But what it brought a richness to this region with the many nations working side by side in a peaceful way to build something so significant and so important to the future of Australia and in the future of this region. And I believe it's where multiculturalism started, and it became the melting pot. And those benefits and those blessings we continue to enjoy today, and that's what makes this region a very rich region in its story and its heritage. But that heritage goes back many generations, and we've been blessed in this region with Mother Nature's natural tourism product being Kosciuszko, of course the lake, the beautiful landscape that we enjoy. And as in my recent appointment as Minister for Regional Tourism, I can't think of a greater product to promote in New South Wales than what I call the jewel in the crown, and that is this region in Jindabyne.
The nature of modern Australia, Aboriginal in heritage, European in foundation, multicultural in character, is the nature of the new Jindabyne. This famous township on this iconic lake and river reflects our country in a way very few towns across Australia do. New Jindabyne illustrates what is best about Australia. It reminds us why our country is still the lucky country and why we, Australians all, ancient, old and new, are some of the luckiest people on the face of the earth. Thank you.
In the Old Town, lessons were conducted on blackboards. The students carried pencils, paper and textbooks. Their information came from encyclopedias. These have been replaced with smartboards, laptops and Google. In 50 years, not only has the landscape changed, but so has the education within it. In the Old Town, swimming lessons were held on Friday afternoons in the Snowy River. The children had to venture over river tussock, briar bushes and through long snake-infested grass. Nowadays, we have to hike through the treacherous Nuggets Crossing to get to the heated swimming pool. Who would have thought those early days of swimming lessons in the cold Snowy River would eventually lead to Jindabyne being recognised as having Australia's only inland surf lifesaving club. Our lake that surrounds the town is not only great for summer water sports, but also provides a beautiful backdrop to the town, and it doesn't matter which side of town you enter from. As I ask you all to continue to imagine what it was like as a student 50 years ago, I'm sure that although they didn't have the latest technology, a fancy school uniform or modern facilities, the children, just like me, would have been equally as proud of their school and their town as we are today. No doubt that back in the day, the flooding of the old town and the creation of the new town had its critics. But from a school kid's perspective today, the new town and the schools within it are a fantastic place to grow up and would be eyed with envy from others who aren't so lucky.